start your own business in the UK being on a skilled worker visa, and forget about getting indefinite leave to remain in the UK at the end of 5 years. So this is the question I'm going to address, and I'm going to explain why I say so. The Home Office position that has been throughout the tier 2 general area, the skilled worker area, uh, since the inception of skilled worker area, every time whenever we questioned them, whenever we asked about can individuals start their own business in the UK, what were their answers? So all these issues, what are the concerns, how Home Office would find it out, etc. I'm going to explain it in this video. You are contracted to work with your employer for, let's say, 37.5 hours. So this is the amount of time that you can work with your employer. Now, additional 20 hours supplementary employment. So this is all that is allowed in the immigration rules as per the skilled worker rules. So remember that in the immigration it's very clear, contracted number of hours that have been confirmed on the course. You may be working extra with your employer, but that is never accounted for. That is between you and your employer. That is your employment rights, whether they pay you or not, that is for you to challenge separately. But Home Office never bothers how much you work with your employer. So that is the, in my example, 37.5 hours of per week, that is you have contracted, that has been stated on your course. Additional 20 hours supplementary employment, you can work in any skilled occupation. Home Office position has always been, you should be working these hours always in a salaried, in an employed position. This cannot be in a business, of your own. You cannot start your own business, you cannot register, you cannot start your own business, register your business, start doing something else in the UK. The biggest problem, that the challenge comes is, so this is how Home Office would check this or get to begin with investigating this aspect. Anytime, whenever you file indefinite leave to remain, let's say you have done this, you started your own business, and at the end, when you file for your indefinite leave to remain, they may find out by different sources. They have access to HMRC records. They run your NI number, they see some incomes reported, or they see on Companies House you are being listed as a director, or any other ways. There are many, many ways how Home Office can can have the idea that this person may have worked in breach of their compliances. So this is a starting point. So let's say this is where, if you have started a business, this is the maximum. Let me do the total. So this is 37.5 hours, number one, and your 20 hours per week. So Home Office position will always be that you may have worked, whatever startup, anything that you may have started, you're doing business, trading, whatever you are doing, selling someone else's goods, your goods, or even starting a YouTube channel for that matter. So whatever that is, like this format. So they don't know how many hours you really worked. You may have worked maybe instead of 20, 30 hours per week, you may have worked 40 hours per week. You may have worked 50 hours per week, or whatever that is. Or you may have worked just on your project only, and you may have never worked with your employer. That is the first position. That's the position that they would always start with whenever they are investigating. We don't believe that you may have been working with your employer. It may be, and this is a common issue currently because of this self-sponsorship area where people are filing visas. So that is another challenge. I will make another video on the self-sponsorship. What are the challenges on this aspect? So people are abusing the rules left, right, and center. They are getting a visa from one person, from one company, and not working with that company at all, and working any number of hours, in this example, anywhere else, either in their own business or with some employer or whatever that is, somewhere else. So in this video, I am only considering the aspect of starting your own business. So this is where the problem will be. If Home Office finds out, they don't know how many hours you have spent on your business. This is where the biggest challenge is, where Home Office may, this happened, this has happened. I'm not doing guesswork over here. In HSMP, tier 1 general, etc. They did. So the way it would work is you file your indefinite leave to remain, and at that point the Home Office would send a questionnaire. The questionnaire would be so open, all open-ended answers that you have to give, not yes and no. Basically, anything that they see on record, they may ask. Maybe a bank account where monies are coming in, maybe HMRC company registration, maybe you are listed as a director on one or several companies, anything and everything, money flowing in, or anyhow they find it out, let's say through social media. So for example, this is a channel, YouTube channel, you are seeing me on social media. This is how home office may come to know. If you have a channel that's doing very well, they always have the right to ask the questions. How many hours are you spending on this project, on whatever the other project is? They don't know how many hours you really work, whether you really work the 37.5 hours or you and the 20 hours. So you may have worked the extra hours. So this is the problem that home office has. You may not have enough justification at that point, and it is too much risk to take. Usually, if an indefinite leave to remain application is refused on this basis, you will not have any appeal right. It's a points based application. You don't get appeal rights. Administrative review. So let me give you the recourses, whatever they may be, if at all. Administrative review is, let's say I am the caseworker who made your decision and I refuse your application. Then in an administrative review, the waiting period is about 12 months currently, and I think it is going to continue for long, for many years like that, because there are various reasons. So in spite of waiting that period, what will happen is my colleague who is sitting besides me will look at the whole application and the decision again, and they will only see if I have done anything wrong. And there are very less chances of success in this setup, what we are talking of over here, in an admin review. You will have to go outside of the normal immigration tribunals, not the first right tribunal, not the upper right tribunal. You have to straight away go for a judicial review. Yeah, it will be the upper tribunal, but it will be a judicial review, which is only to see whether let's say I am the caseworker, I have refused your application, whether I acted as per the rules or did I go beyond my responsibilities or the authority that was given to me. But I, as a caseworker, always have a reasoning where I can make notes. I can speak to a manager and say, whatever information has come to light from this, we don't believe that this person has ever worked with the sponsor, or if they have worked with the sponsor also, let's say for the contracted hours, they have been in breach of the 20 hours. So this is a common one. They breach of this 20-hour aspect. It is a common scenario in case of student visas. They do curtail student visas in case when the individual is working beyond their 20 hours during term time. They do curtail the student visas as soon as they come to know through some sponsor license audits or somehow they get this information. And there are also instances where they file a graduate route visa, the student files, and they work for during the student period for more than 20 hours. In that case also they do get a refusal. There are many examples. This is live, you can check, and there are many comments on the channel. You will see people who have been stuck in such situations. So this wave has not come on the skilled worker area. Home office always takes time. Currently they are busy. Last year 2024 they were busy cancelling sponsor licenses. They have cancelled 1500 sponsor licenses. It is the latest information. Last week I was on a call and from home office only we have got all the information. So 1500 sponsor licenses, most of them were the care homes and all, where a lot of abuse was happening. So now the second point they are catching on is on this self-sponsorship visa. They've started refusing all self-sponsorship ones for what I will deal that in a separate video. But yeah, that is the second one. So what I'm trying to say over here is that they take it one item at a time. So previously sponsor licenses they started cancelling, review them carefully. Now they are after all the self-sponsorship game, which was happening for almost 3 to 4 years now or more longer. Home office was observing it. Suddenly they stop at a point and then they start refusing them. They start asking questions. It has happened in throughout the history of home office, even in the HSMP, Tier 1 General Indefinite Leave to Remains. They observed some issues, they waited, and then they come up big. So this problem also over here, where the extra hours that we are thinking of that are, I don't know how many they may be, or even home office caseworkers don't know how many hours you may have worked. You may be starting a startup or something. Startups take so much time. Even I know that as a lawyer. I don't have a startup, but I know how much time gets into that. You may not have generated any revenue. That is not relevant. The point is, have you worked with your sponsor for the contracted hours, 37.5 in my example, and have you only worked maximum of 20 hours outside of that in a supplementary employment? So proving that you restricted your work only to 20 hours is the biggest challenge. unless you have evidence. Even if you have evidence, let's say you have timesheets, etc., etc. I know I've spoken to people who are challenging, arguing against it. There is no arguing at that point. You will see that when it comes to the point of judicial reviews and when applications are refused, you will see the costs involved, 5 to 10 grand it goes. Yeah, so a lot of costs are involved in that, a lot of hassle, and the onus remains on you to prove. So remember that home office will start that at any point, because they know this has been happening. People, they are having issues with the compliances. Either this compliance 37.5 people are not doing this, either they are doing 0 or they are doing less than 37.5 for whatever reason. And the second compliance aspect, they know both of them, both the problems they are aware of. They know that people are somewhere somehow abusing this, may not be starting business but with some other employer. So I know they are aware of this. They have made us aware that we are aware of these two issues. So at some point, these all things will amalgamate into a big problem, and that is where it is going to end up. So this is my wise advice. You only have 5 years to spend in the UK on the skilled worker visa. I understand that everyone has their own aspirations to go forward in life, your dreams to starting your businesses, projects, etc., etc. But be mindful, the the stakes are very high over here. You will never settle in the UK, and once ILR goes for a challenge, I have seen people returning back home hundreds of times. I know that from that previous HSMP, Tier 1 General, all those areas we have seen big event Tier 1 entrepreneur visas, etc., etc. A lot of things home office has been refusing at the indefinite leave to remain point, and they know that they can stop you at the ILR point. So that's why that is back on their list. But they are aware of these two issues. That's what I wanted to make everyone aware of this. If you are really starting a business, yes, you are taking this risk. Decision is yours. My job was to just to tell you, because home office has started running after all the skilled worker aspects: sponsor licenses, cost refusals, interviews outside UK, interviews inside UK. Now even the compliance breaches, they are taking those seriously. Slowly they are getting at this point, at the working hours, etc., etc. So just be careful, because every time I have also talked to senior managers, directors, and every time on the calls we always ask them, can a skilled worker start a business? Every time they always say no, they cannot. That is not in the spirit of skilled worker visas. That is their answer always. That is not in the spirit of skilled worker visas. And I agree what they mean. Whenever there is always a spirit of every visa, we understand that. As lawyers, home office understands that. I know not everyone will understand this. Anytime a visa is being released, it's passed, the laws are passed in the parliament, there is an explanatory memorandum, there are intentions given behind that. So the very intention of this visa is to work in a sponsored way, be under the control of your employer, and work. The 20 hours extra is just given just for extra purposes. Earlier there were a lot of restrictions on that also. You can only work in skilled occupation or only on a shortage occupation and all that stuff. Now they've taken off some of the relaxations, but as soon as it is common practice, and home office is aware of this, we are aware of this as lawyers. Anytime home office takes off any restrictions, abuse starts. This is where the abuse has started now. So yes, be careful, decide for yourself. If you did get any value in this video, do subscribe to the channel and like this video, and thank you very much.